Hi, today we're looking at GCSE Maths foundation level. We've got the Pearson Edexcel exam board, and this is paper 3, one of the calculator papers from November 2022. Question 1. Write the following numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. Okay, so I'm actually going to write them one above the other to make them easier to compare. 0.46 and 0.408. Then what I'm going to do with these is, because they're after the decimal point, I can just fill in empty spaces with the zeros. So it's easier to compare. Now, instead of comparing 0.41 with 0.5, I can just cover those up. And I'm now comparing 410 with 500, 460 and 408. So what's the smallest number here? Well, it's 408. Then 410, then 460, and then 500. So that was this one first, 0.408. Then the one at the top, 0.41. Then it was this one, which they've put as 0.46. And finally, 0.5. You don't have to do it like this, but I just think it makes it easier to compare. Question 2. Write down the value of the 2 in the number 12,345. I'm going to put my comma in there, so it's 12,000. So these are the units, these are tens, these are hundreds. The 2 is in the thousandths, so it's thousands, so it is 2,000. Okay, question 3. Write 4/5 as a decimal. Well, we can use the calculator for this one. So 4/5, we just do 4 divided by 5 equals 0.8. Now, if it doesn't come up automatically, if it shows it as a fraction, well then you can use the SD button to switch it to decimals. Question 4. Write 19.4949 to the nearest whole number. Okay, well, what number is it between? Well, the whole number below it would be 19, down at this end. And the next whole number up would be 20. So think, well, what would be halfway in between? Well, it would be 19.5. Now, where does this fit? Well, 19.49, that's going to be before 19.5. So we're going to round down to 19. Alternatively, you can just say whole number would be these. So look at the next digit, which is a 4. It's less than 5. So we just round to 19. And question 5. Here's a list of numbers. From the list, write down a multiple of 3. So that just means one of the numbers that's in the 3 times table. Well, the 3 times tables: 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. If you're not comfortable with the 3 times table, you can just use your calculator. 3 plus 3, and then keep adding 3's on. But I've found 18 here, which is in my list, so I can go with that. There might be more than one right answer. In fact, there's not, but there could be. It just says write down a multiple of 3. So as soon as you've found one of them, you can put that in and move on to the next question. Question 6. The graph shows information about the average monthly temperature, degrees Celsius, in Amman. Okay, so we've got temperature up here, and we've got months of the year across here. So we can see January, February, March, the temperature is increasing, and it increases all the way up to July, then it starts to reduce again. Part A. For how many months was the average monthly temperature greater than 16 degrees? Okay, so let's have a look at that. 16 degrees, that's here. So let's draw a line across. How many months are greater than 16? Well, this one doesn't count because it's equal to 16. Greater than, it has to be more than. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 months. And part B. Write down the 2 months that had the same average monthly temperature. Okay, so we go back to the graph. 2 values that are the same. Well, these 2 are standing out. So it's May and what's this one down here? October. It doesn't ask what the temperature was, it just says which of the 2 months. Question 7. 208 bars of chocolate were sold from a shop. 1/4 of these bars of chocolate were large bars. The rest of the bars of chocolate were small bars. All the large bars of chocolate were sold for £1 each. All the small bars of chocolate were sold for 60p each. Work out the total amount of money for which the 208 bars of chocolate were sold. Give your answer in pounds. Okay, so we've got large bars and small bars. 1/4 of them are large. So for 1/4, we want 1/4 of, which is times 208. So we're going to do 1 divided by 4 times 208. And we get 52. And they were sold for £1 each. So 52 times £1. Well, you could use the calculator, but 52 times 1 is going to be 52. The rest of the bars of chocolate were small bars. So that's going to be 208 minus the 52 large bars. So 208 minus that answer gives 156 small bars. Now there's 60p each, but instead of multiply by 60p, I'm going to write it as 0.6. In other words, we're writing it as if it's in pounds. And we want 156 of these. So 156 times 0.6. And we get £93.60. Because it's money, we need to have 2 decimal places. If you didn't do it as 0.6 and you wanted to just do it by 60, you could do 60 times 156, but you'd have to remember that that is in pence. So to turn it into pounds, you'd move the decimal point in 2 places, which would still give you £93.60. Okay, so the large bars are £52, the small bars are £93.60. Add them together. So let's divide that by 100 to make that in pounds. We want to add on the 52. And we get 145.6. But again, because it's money, we need to write that as 60p. And we can put that in our answer box. And that was for 3 marks. Question 8. 4 students play a game. The table shows the number of points each student has. So Ali has 143 points, Barbara's got 121, Calliope's got 45, and Dinesh has got 19. Barbara has more points than Dinesh. How many more? So we want the difference between them. So we want 121, which is Barbara's, minus Dinesh's 19. 121 minus 19 gives us 102. Work out the mean number of points. Now this is for 2 marks. Now the mean is calculated by getting the total and dividing that by how many you've got, or the frequency. So the total is going to be all of those added together. So we've got 143 plus 121 plus 45 plus 19. So we've got 328, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So divide that by 4. And we get 82. Question 9. We've got a grid here. We've got a point marked A on it. Part A. Write down the coordinates of point A. Okay, so we want the x coordinate first, so we go down here, so we've got -1. And the y coordinate, we go across, is 2. Part B. On the grid, mark with a cross the point 1, 4. Label this point B. Okay, 1, 4. So we go across, here's 1. And then we need to go up to 4. So that's going to be up here. And we're going to label that B. Part C. On the grid, draw the line with equation y equals -3. Now this sort of question will often catch people out, and it's only worth 1 mark, but it's a very straightforward 1 mark to get. So if you think we want a line with equation y equals -3, well, we find -3 on the y-axis is here. We want all of the points where y equals -3. It's basically a horizontal line like that. Y equals -3. So it doesn't change with x. It's just going to be the same dead straight line. Similarly, if you had something that said x equals, well, if x is staying the same, then it would be a vertical line instead. But if the y is staying the same, horizontal line. Question 10. Here are the first 3 terms of a sequence. We've got 20, 16, 13. Write down 2 numbers that could be the 4th and 5th terms of this sequence. A good place to start is to work out what the difference between the numbers is. So to do that, we'll take the first, or the biggest number, 20 minus the 16, and it's 4. So we're subtracting 4 to get from 20 to 16. What about from 16 to 13? 16 minus 13. There's a difference of 3, so we're going down by 3. So we're trying to find a sort of pattern here. So -4, -3, well maybe the next thing would be -2, and then -1. It says 2 numbers that could be the 4th and 5th. There could be others, but I'm going to go with this one. It seems fairly logical. So 13 minus 2 would take us down to 11, and 11 minus 1 would take us down to 10. Okay. Part 2. Write down the rule you used to get your numbers. Okay. Well, we did a subtraction, didn't we? So we can say subtract by a number where the number reduces by 1 each time and starts with 4. Might not have written that in the clearest English, but something along those lines, because it says the first 3 terms, so we're starting with 20. So something that's saying we're taking away, but each time the number we're taking away is reducing by 1. Okay, it's only 1 mark, so don't get too hung up on the words, just try and get your point across. Question 11. Here is a cuboid. Work out the volume of the cuboid. Okay, well the volume is equal to the length times the width times the height. Doesn't matter which order they are, we want the 3 different dimensions. So we can have the 8 times a 4 times a 5, make it clear that's an 8. And if we do that, we get 160, and they've already done the units for us, centimetres cubed. Question 12. Amal, Gemma and Harry each have a number of sweets. The number of sweets that Gemma has is 6 times the number of sweets that Amal has. The number of sweets that Harry has is half the number of sweets that Gemma has. Write down the ratio, the number of sweets that Amal has to the number of sweets that Gemma has to the number of sweets that Harry has. And this is worth 2 marks. Right, so, number of sweets that Amal has. Actually, let's bring it down so we can read again. Number of sweets Gemma has is 6 times the number of sweets that Amal has. So if Amal has 1, Gemma has 6 times that, which is 6. The number of sweets Harry has is half the number of sweets Gemma has. Well, if Gemma's got 6, half of 6 is 3. So we've got 1 to 6 to 3. And that's it. Nice and straightforward. Question 13. ABCD is a quadrilateral 4-sided shape. And we've got 3 of the angles written in and 1 missing. Work out the size of angle X. Okay, well, to work out the total angles, we know that the total angles in any quadrilateral are equal to 360. So if we subtract these angles, so in other words, let's do 120 plus 120 plus 80. With 320, take that away from 360, and we get our answer, 40 degrees. Give a reason for your answer. So sometimes they might ask for the reason in the question, but that was only worth 1 mark. So 1 mark for the number, 1 mark for the reason. And we can just say total angles in a quadrilateral equals 360 degrees. And we've got part B. The diagram below shows a triangle. The diagram is wrong. Explain why. Well, in the fact we've got 360 degrees in a quadrilateral, we should have 180 degrees in a triangle. But let's see what happens if we add these together. Get 190 degrees. Okay, so that looks wrong. It's not equal to 180. So the diagram is wrong. Explain why. And we can put the total angles in a triangle should be 180 degrees, not 190 degrees. Okay, question 14. You can use this graph to change between ounces and grams. So this is what we call a conversion chart or conversion graph. Okay. Part A, change 850 grams to ounces. So let's find 850 grams. Well, 850 is going to be halfway between 800 and 900. So it's going to be here. So if we get our ruler, draw a nice straight line, across to our line. And then we draw a vertical line down to here. So this is telling us 850 grams is equal to 30 ounces. Now, that's part B. Change 80 ounces to grams. Okay, so, well, we haven't got 80 ounces on here. It only goes up to, well, 35. So what we can do, we can think about 80 ounces. Well, we know that 30 ounces is 850 grams. So 30 ounces, or OZ, equals 850 grams. We want 80, so maybe we can do it in tens. So if we divide this by 3, because 30 is 3 tens, and divide this by 3, so 30 divided by 3 is 10 ounces, or Oz for short. If we divide 850 by 3, we get that 10 ounces is 283.333333 grams. We want 80, so we want to multiply this by 8, because 8 tens are 80 ounces. So we want to multiply this by 80 as well. Sorry, not by 80, by 8, because 10 times 8, so multiply that by 8, and we get 2,266 point, I'm going to do it to 2 decimal places, 66, but the next digit is bigger than 5, so that's going to become 67. Exactly how you round that is up to you. You could do it to the nearest gram, 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places. Any of those would be fine. Question 15. 2.5 kilograms of onions and 2 kilograms of carrots cost a total of £2.36. 3 kilograms of carrots cost £1.74. Stuart has £2. He wants to buy 4 kilograms of onions. Does Stuart have enough money to buy 4 kilograms of onions? You must show how you get your answer. And this is for 5 marks. So we've got lots of words. So we start off with, what do we know? Well, we know the cost of onions and carrots, a combination here. We know the cost of carrots on their own. We want to know about the cost of the onions. So what we can do is we can use this information about the carrots. So if we know 3 kilograms of carrots are £1.74, well, if we divide this by 3, it's going to tell us what 1 kilogram of carrots costs. So we're also going to divide this by 3. And we get 0.58 or 58p. That's 1 kilogram of carrots. Okay, well, we know what 2.5 kilograms or 2.5 kilograms of onions and 2 kilograms of carrots cost. So we can work out what 2 kilograms of carrots cost, take it away from here, and that'll give us the cost of the onions. So we now want to multiply this by 2 to give us 2 kilograms of carrots. So multiply this by 2. We get £1.16. Okay, so we can put this into here. So we've got 2.5 kg of onions and 2 kilograms of carrots. Well, 2 kilograms of carrots is £1.16. And that in total costs £2.36. So what we can do is move this to the other side, which means we change the operation to a minus. 236 minus our answer gives us 1.2 or £1.20. So our 2.5 kilograms of onions is £1.20. Well, let's try and find out what 1 kilogram of onions is. So divide that by 2.5. That's going to give us 1 kilogram of onions. So we also need to divide this by 2.5. So we've still got it in the calculator. Divide by 2.5. That means 1 kilogram of onions costs 0.48 or 48p. We're interested in 4 kilograms of onions. So we're going to multiply that by 4 to give us 4 kilograms of onions. And multiply this by 4 as well, which gives us £1.92. Stuart has £2. He wants to buy 4 kilograms of onions. Does he have enough money? Well, £1.92 is less than £2, so yes, he has enough money. You could do this using algebra, putting C's in and O's in, something like that, but I've kept it in words just to keep it nice and clear. But either way would be fine, as long as you get down to this number here and you make the right conclusion. Question 16. There are 3 different types of potato in a box. This table gives a number of each type of potato. It says 90 Jersey Royals, 105 Charlottes, they're my favourite, and 105 Maris Pipers. Salim draws this pie chart for the information in the table. Let's put this down here. Write down 2 things that are wrong or misleading with this pie chart. Okay, well, one thing that stands out is that we've got a right angle here. So this is telling me that this is 1/4 of the total. Well, what is the total? So let's add these all up. So 90, 105, and another 105 is 300. So 300 divided by 4 for 1/4 is 75. So this is saying that this area represents 75 potatoes, but none of our answers are 75. So we can say smallest section is 90 degrees. Which represents 1/4. But none of the values equal 75 potatoes, something like that. Okay. What else is wrong or misleading with the pie chart? Well, it doesn't actually tell us what each of these relate to. And the thing that would do that would be a key. So we can just say there is no key. Because we shouldn't have to guess which section relates to which of the types of potatoes. It should be clear from the diagram. You might have other answers to go in, but certainly those are 2 good ones. That's for 2 marks. Question 17. Part A. Write 87,569 correct to 3 significant figures. So that means we want to look at the first 3 digits, and this last one is in the hundreds. So we're basically saying round to the nearest 100. So if this is the important one, we actually look at the digit after it, which is the 6. If it's 5 or more, we round up. So we're going to have 876 for those first 3 digits, and anything else, we just replace it with zeros. So we're going to have 87,600. So you can think of it as the nearest 100, and you'd still get to the same answer. For part B, work out 3.2 plus 3.7 in brackets times 4.9 all over 5.3 minus 2.8. Now, because it's all over, this sort of written almost as a fraction, this division, that means that everything on the top needs to be done separately and everything done on the bottom separately and then divided. So let's do this bit at the top. So we've got 3.2 plus 3.7. So this is equal to 6.9. And then we want to multiply that by 4.9. So I'm just going to write that total for the top in 33.81. Separately, I'm going to do the bottom. So now we've got 5.3 minus 2.8, which equals 2.5. Now this question's worth 2 marks. So it's worth doing some interim calculations, because if you go straight for the answer and you get it wrong, you'll get nothing. Whereas if you make a mistake, you might still be able to get 1 mark by showing that you got the right process or working something correct out along the way. So we want 33.81 divided by the 2.5, which gives us 13.524. Question 18. Okay, we've got a picture here on some coordinates. Rotate the shaded shape 90 degrees anti-clockwise about 0, 0. 0, 0, the origin, so that's here. This is where you could use tracing paper. We're going to do it without tracing paper. Now what I want to do, because we know where we're rotating it, I'm going to see how I can get there. So using straight lines. So we're coming down and along one. Now we're rotating it 90 degrees, so that's a quarter turn, anti-clockwise. Clockwise would be that way, anti-clockwise is going to be that way. So we've got to think we've got this L shape and we're turning that a quarter turn. So instead of this vertical bit being vertical, it's now going to come out this way and it's going to be horizontal. And this little leg coming off of it, instead of being horizontal, is now going to point down vertically. And that's going to connect to this corner here. So similarly, this vertical line here, 2 boxes, is now, when you rotate it, I think I've got it here, it's going to go out this way. So it's going to go across 2 boxes here. That's this side. And this horizontal line, here we rotate it, is now going to go down 3 boxes there. This horizontal line here, and we're rotating it, so it's now going to be a vertical line coming down here. And then we just need to connect this like this. You don't need to shade it in, but there you go. That's a bit scruffy actually, but there you go. So if you've got tracing paper, what you would do is you would trace around this shape. You would use this as a pivot point and then turn the tracing paper a quarter turn that way, and it would line up exactly where I've drawn the picture. Question 19. Carly cycles to her friend's house. She stays at her friend's house for a number of minutes. Then she cycles home. Here is the travel graph for her journey. Okay, so distance from home, That's the time of day. So at 8 o'clock, she left home. She was getting further and further and further from home till she got 7 kilometres away. Then she stayed the same distance away, so this must be when she's at her friend's house. And then the distance from home is reducing, so this is her journey back home, and she got back at 9 o'clock. For how many minutes did Carly stay at her friend's house? So this is going to be this section here where she's not moving. Well, she's not getting further away from home anyway. So she got there at 8:30. What about this time here? Well, it's halfway between 8:40 and 8:50. So this is 8:45. So we want the difference between 8:45 and 8:30. So we can just say 45 minus 30. Which is 15 minutes. Part B. How far is Carly from her home at 8:50? And they've got kilometres for the units here. So 8:50. Let's get our ruler. Draw a line straight up. And we're sort of... Where are we? I'd say we're meeting there. So let's draw a horizontal line across. Right, we're between 4 and 5 kilometres. Now, this is 1 kilometre here, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So we want 1 kilometre divided by 5 is 0.2. So each of these boxes is 0.2. So this is 4 kilometres, that would be 4.2 kilometres, 4.4 kilometres, that's going to be 4.6 kilometres. And for part C, work out Carly's speed in kilometres an hour for the first 20 minutes of her journey. Okay, so 8 o'clock, 20 minutes would be to 8:20. Okay, so in 20 minutes, she travels 4 kilometres. Okay, so 4 km in 20 minutes. Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So 60 divided by 20 is 3. So we want 3 lots of these. So 3 times 4, which gives us 12 or 12 kilometres per hour. Instead of dividing it by 20, you can think of the minutes in hours. So think of it as 20 out of 60. And if you do that, you get a third. Okay, you can then multiply the third. What would we do? We know it's 4 kilometres, so we would do the 4 divided by the third, which then gets us a 12. So different ways of doing it, but think if it's 4 kilometres in 20 minutes, we want to know how far she would travel in 60 minutes. So 3 lots. So I think this is probably the easiest way, the way I did it first of all. Question 20. Here is a list of ingredients for making 10 scones. Or scones, depending where you're from. Ingredients for 10 scones: 80 kilograms of butter, 350 grams of self-raising flour, 30 grams of sugar and 2 eggs. Martin has 100 grams of butter, 1 kilogram of self-raising flour, 50 grams of sugar and 4 eggs. Martin wants to make 25 scones. He has not got enough of some of the ingredients. work out how much more of each of these ingredients he needs. Right, so what you could do is divide this by 10 to find out how much you need for one scone, and then multiply that by 25. Or you can say, well, actually, 10 to 25, well, think of it as 25 divided by 10. Hopefully you'd spot this is 2.5 times. So all we need to do is multiply each of these by 2.5, and that'll tell us how much of each ingredient we need. Okay, so for the butter, we've got 80 times 2.5, so actually I'm going to put it over here. So the butter is going to be 200 grams. The self-raising flour, that's going to be 350 times 2.5, so 875. The sugar, 30 times 2.5, 75 grams of sugar. And the eggs, well, 2 times 2.5 is 5. Right, so he's actually got 100 grams of butter. So we want 200, which is how much he needs, minus 100. Tell us how much the shortfall is. 100 grams of butter. Now, 1 kilogram of self-raising flour, that's what he's got. Well, that's 1,000 grams. That's more than 875. So that's okay. Doesn't need any more. So we can put 0 for that. Sugar, so he needs 75 grams. He's only got 50. So 75 minus 50 is 25 grams. And eggs, he needs 5 eggs. He's only got 4. So 5 minus 4 is 1 egg. Now, we haven't got... sometimes you might have lines to write the answers on, so we can just... Well, I'll leave it there. So our answers are 100 grams of butter, 0 for flour, 25 grams for sugar, and 1 egg. And that was for 4 marks. Question 21. Make A the subject of the formula P equals 3A minus 9. Right, well, if we're interested in the A's, I'm going to change the sides. I'm going to write it as 3A minus 9 equals P. Okay, because I want my A's on the left. I prefer it this way. So, first thing we want to do is get rid of the minus 9. So move it to the other side, and that becomes a plus 9. So we've still got the 3A, and the minus, where are we? Minus 9's gone over here, so we've now got 3A equals P plus 9. I've got to be really careful, the P's and the 9's and the A's can easily get mixed up. We want just A, so we want to divide it by 3. Because dividing is the opposite of multiplying. So if we're dividing this by 3, we're going to divide that by 3. So we end up with A is equal to P plus 9, all divided by 3. Question 22. Rob has been asked to divide 120 in the ratio 3 to 5. Here is his working. 120 divided by 3 equals 40. 120 divided by 5 equals 24. Rob's working is not correct. Describe what Rob has done wrong. Well, if 120 is to be divided in the ratio 3 to 5, instead of dividing by 3 and 5, he should be dividing it by 8. So, should be dividing 120 by 8. Okay. Then he would multiply by 3 or 5. So in other words, what we're saying is 120 in the ratio of 3 to 5, we need to split 120 into 8 parts. And then 3 parts would go in one part, and 5 parts, or 5/8, would go in the other. So you probably can write it nicer than this, but you certainly shouldn't be dividing it by different amounts, because if you add 40 and 24 together, it's not going to add up to 120. Question 23. 200 students choose one language to study. Each student chose one language from French or Spanish or German. Of the 200 students, 90 are boys and the rest of the students are girls. 70 chose Spanish. 60 of the students who chose French are boys. 18 girls chose German. Work out how many boys chose Spanish. Right, loads of information. So again, we want to show this in a picture somehow. You could maybe do it in a table. I'm going to do it as a sort of a tree diagram. So we've got 200 students. 90 are boys. And the rest are girls. And each one chooses French or Spanish or German. So maybe we can split it. Let's split it by language first of all. So we're going to have either French, Spanish, or German. And we're starting with 200. 70 chose Spanish. So we'll have 70 over here. 60 of that 104 students who chose French are boys. So 104 chose French. We're not worried about the boys and girls yet. But if we know 104 chose French and 70 chose Spanish, well, if we add those two together, we get 174. And if we take that away from 200, we'll find out how many chose German, which is 26. Okay, so we've got French, Spanish, German. We're interested in how many boys chose Spanish, but let's split all of these up into boys and girls, boys and girls, boys and girls. Okay, we know 60 of the 104 students who chose French are boys. Here's French, so 60 are boys. So the girls must be the difference between these two. So 104 minus 60 is 44 girls. Okay. What else have we got? 18 girls chose German. So this is 18. So the boys must be 26 minus 18. Which is 8. And then we know 90 are boys and the rest are girls. So if 90 are boys, we've got 60 and 8 here, which is 68. So if we do 90 minus 68, whatever's left, 22, must be the boys that chose Spanish. Okay. And if we want to complete the table, well, that would be 70 minus, so not table, the diagram, which is 48. But what we've been asked to work out are the boys that chose Spanish, so that is our 22. So what you could do, you could try doing it as a table. Should we try and do that? Let's see. So if we did that, we would have French, Spanish, German, and then we'd have our boys and girls. And then we're going to have total along here. Now this is an alternative, so this is, you can do it either way. And I'm sure there'll be some of you would much prefer this diagram and some would prefer the table. I actually think the table might be better, come to think of it. So this is going to be our table. We know there's 200 students altogether, so that's going to be the total down here. And then with the table you can start to put the information in a bit easier. 90 are boys, so that's going to go in here. So this box is going to be the 200 minus the 90. Which is 110. Then we're told that 70 chose Spanish. So this total is 70. 60 of the 104 students who chose French are boys. So 104 chose French and 60 are boys. So like we did before, the girls, we can do 104 minus 60, which gave us our 44. And then we were told 18 girls chose German. So German girls, 18. So now we can use this. We can do our 44 plus 18. Is 62. And so this box is going to be the 110 minus 62. Which gives us 48 girls chose Spanish, and the boys that chose Spanish, which is what we want, would be the 70 minus 48, which is 22. Okay, so you got your choice. Having done it this way, that's the way I naturally went, but I'm thinking this table is probably a little bit easier to work with because you can put the information in it as you're going. We could fill in this value here if we want for the girls and work these out, but they're only asking about the Spanish boys, so I've got 22 there. Okay. Question 24. Karina has 4 tanks on her tractor. Each tank is a cylinder, okay, with diameter 80 centimetres and height 160 centimetres. The tanks are to be filled completely with a mixture of fertiliser and water. The fertiliser has to be mixed with water in the ratio 1 to 100 by volume. Karina has 32 litres of, Karina has 32 litres of fertiliser and 1 litre equals 1,000 centimetres cubed. Has Karina enough fertiliser for the 4 tanks? You must show how you get your answer. Right, so what we want to do first is we want to work out the volume of this cylinder. And remember we've got 4 of them, but we're going to start off by just working one out. Okay, so volume of the cylinder, is going to be, well, it's going to be this area of the circle times the height. And the area of the circle is pi r squared. Okay, and r is half the diameter. So 80 divided by 2, which is 40. So radius is 40 centimetres. Okay, so the area equals pi times 40 squared. Okay, so we've got 40 here, so where's pi? Pi's symbol down here, we need to shift pi times 40 squared. That gives us 5,026.548. So 5,026 and that's centimetres squared. I'm not worrying about the rest of the decimal places because I'm going to keep that in my calculator. Now the volume is going to be this 5,026 point blah 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 times the height. Remember, this height is 160 centimetres. So let's move this over here. So we're going to multiply this 160 and we get 804,247 point blah blah blah. That's going to be centimetres cubed. Again, I'm not worried about this because I'm not rounding it yet. I'm going to keep all my values here. Now remember, we've got 4 of these tanks, so we want to multiply this by 4. Now if we do that, getting a big number now, 3,216,990.877. I'll put all my values down for now. Now, remember, we're told that 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres cubed. So this is centimetres cubed. We want to turn it into litres, so we're going to divide it by 1,000. And we get 3,216.99. I'll just round it to 2 decimal places for now. And that's now going to be in litres. Okay, we can probably round it to 3,217 if we want, but I'll leave it like that for now. Right, the fertiliser has to be mixed with water in the ratio of 1 to 100 by volume. So we've got a ratio there. Let's draw a ratio table. With this question, it's great if you know where you're going. This is a 4-mark question, but if not, then just sort of go with what feels right or what you can work out. So we know we can do the area, we know we can do the volume, we know we've got a ratio going on, and we've got fertiliser and water, and we're going to have a total, and we've got 1 fertiliser for 100 water. So our total would be these two together, so it's going to be 101. She's got 32 litres of fertiliser. So we're going to work out how much liquid she needs in total, how much the mixture is. So this, basically we're multiplying it by 32. So we're going to need to do the same with this. So 101 times 32 means that we would need 3,232 litres of mixture. Right, well, we know that we've got 3,216. Actually, I'm going to put that as approximately equal to 3,217 litres. Okay, so we need 3,232 litres, but we have 3,217 litres. So 3,232, what we need, it's getting messy, sorry, 3,232 is greater than 3,217, so what we need is more than what we've got. So has Karina got enough fertiliser? Oh no, which way round is it? Make sure we've got this right. So they're going to be filled. Yes, this is she needs to fill those tanks. She's got, so I've got it the wrong way around, haven't I? Oh, that's why I've got to be careful with these questions. So, has Karina got enough to fill the tanks? No, what she needs is 3,217 litres. She has 3,232. 3,232 is greater than 3,217. Has she got enough? Yes. Now, I could have re-recorded this and made it nice and tidy and straightforward, but it's just to show these questions can be confusing. We've done all the calculations, and then I'm getting caught up with which way round they need to be. So as long as you're thinking about it, and when you get there, you kind of have a little pause, look, well, how much do we need? How much have we got? Take your time with it, or especially when you're finished, this is a kind of question to come back, have a look at it with sort of fresh eyes. So have I got them around the right way? What do I need? What have I got? And make the right conclusion. Because all of this work is great, but the numbers would probably get you up to 3 marks. You need to have the right conclusion to get you the 4th mark as well. Okay, question 25. Triangle ABC and triangle DEF are similar. Okay, so that means that they're in the same proportions. Work out the length of EF. Okay, so this one here. So I'm going to look at the sides where I've got numbers for both of them. So I can compare this number with this number. Okay, well, if we take the 20 and divide it by the 5, we'll see that it's 4 times bigger. So multiplying by 4. So if we want to work out this length, we're going to have to multiply this by 4. And 4 times 4 is 16 centimetres. Okay, now we're asked to work out the length of AB. Okay, so we know that this is 4 times bigger, but AB, this length here, we're going the opposite way now. We're going from 22, we're going down. So instead of multiplying by 4, we're going to divide it by 4. So we want 22 divided by 4 gives us 5.5 centimetres. Okay, question 26. One weekend, the Keddy family is going to do a sports quiz and a music quiz. The probability that the family will win the sports quiz is 0.3. The probability that the family will win the music quiz is 0.35. Complete the probability tree diagram. Okay, let's have this here. So sports quiz, probability they win is 0.3. So the probability they do not win, all probabilities add up to 1. So it's going to be 1 minus 0.3. Which is 0.7. If you can do it without the calculator, that's brilliant. I'm going to use it anyway, so it's always good to do a check. So with the music quiz, again, if the probability they win is 0.35, the probability they do not win is going to be 1 minus 0.35, which which is 0.65. So these probabilities need to add up to 1. And this is going to be the same down here. Because whether they won the sports quiz or not, it's not going to impact the probability of whether they win the music quiz. Part B, this is for 2 marks as well. Work out the probability that the Keddy family will win both the sports quiz and the music quiz. So that's win here and win here. So this is the only route that they can have. Oh, so let's show you that one up here. This route here, win and then win. So we've got 0.35. We need to multiply it by the 0.35. Sorry, what did I say? 0.3 multiplied by the 0.35. Now, if you can't remember which way to do it, you know you've got these 2 probabilities that you need to use. If you added them together, well, that wouldn't make any sense, because that's saying the probability of winning both of the quizzes is more than the probability of winning just one. So that should kind of trigger some alarm bells. So we need to multiply the 2 probabilities together, which gives you something which is smaller, which is what you'd expect. The probability of winning one quiz is 0.3 or 0.35. The probability of winning both of them is 0.105. Question 27. Part A. Change 8,000 centimetres cubed to meters squared. Sorry, to meters cubed. Right, now there are 1,000 centimetres. No, there's not. There's 100 centimetres. I'm getting tired today. There are 100 centimetres in 1 metre. Okay. But we can't just divide this by 100 because it's cubed. So what we want to do really is say, well, let's take the cube root of 8,000. So we're getting rid of the cube. And you've got a cube root button on your calculator. I need to use shift on mine here. There you go, we've got the cube root of 8,000. And that's 20. So that is going to be 20 centimetres. So using this 100 centimetres equals 1 metre, if we do 20 centimetres divided by 100, we can say this is 0.2 of a metre. We want metres cubed, so we want 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2. Or you can just cube it. Oh, wrong button. Cube it there. Which gives 8 times 10 to the minus 3, which is 0.008. Okay, that's for the part A. Now for part B, change a speed of 180 kilometers per hour to meters per second. Okay, 180 kilometers an hour. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, we need to change the kilometers and the hours, but I'm going to do one at a time. So I'm going to change my kilometers into meters. So I know there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So if I multiply this by 1,000, we're going to have 180,000, and now that's going to be meters in an hour. So I've changed the kilometers to meters. Then I'm going to need to change the hours into seconds. Okay, but I'm not going to go straight from hours to seconds. I'm going to go from hours to minutes first. And I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So if we divide this by 60, so we've got our 180,000 divided by 60, we get 3,000. So that's 3,000. It's still meters, but it's now per minute. There's also 60 seconds in 1 minute. So to go from minutes to seconds now, we're going to divide that by 60 again. We get 50. So we've got 50 meters per second. Question 28. This is worth 3 marks. There are 30 women and 20 men at a gym. The mean height of all 50 people is 167.6 centimetres. The mean height of the 20 men is 182 centimetres. Work out the mean height of the 30 women. Right, well, let's think what mean is. So mean is the total divided by the frequency. So here, the total is talking about the total height. Okay, and we know that the total height of all of them is going to be 167.6 times 50. Okay, we want to work out the mean height of the women. So to do that, we need the total of the women. So we can work that out by saying, well, the total of all of them would be 50 times 167.6. Okay, that's all of them in total. For the women, though, we want to then take off the height of the men. So we're going to subtract 20 lots of 182 centimetres. So this is total height, men and women, and this is total height just of the men. So we take that off, we'll end up with the height of the women. Now we want the frequency. Now we're only interested in the women. We know there's 30 of them. So we're going to divide all of that by 30. So let's work these bits out separately. So we've got 50 times 167.6. This is, remember, the total height of the men and the women is now 8,380 centimetres. We want to subtract the total height of just the men. Which is 3,640. And then we're going to divide that by the number of women that we've got. So 8,380 minus 3,640 leaves us with 4,740. And we're going to divide that by 30. Which gives us 158 centimetres. And we can do a bit of a check, because if we know the mean height of all of them is 167.6, we know the mean height of the men is more than that, so the mean height of the women should be less than that. And it is. Looks sensible. And that's for 3 marks. Question 29. Part A. Write 6.75 times 10 to the minus 4 as an ordinary number. So we've got 6.75 times 10 to the minus 4. So we're going to move the decimal point 4 times. Because it's minus, we're going to move it to the left to make it smaller. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can fill in with zeros. So we've got 0.000675. Now, work out 2.56 times 10 to the power 6 times 4.12 times 10 to the power minus 3. All of that divided by 1.6 times 10 to the power minus 2. Give your answer in standard form. So you could put that all in your calculator. I'm going to show how we can break this up. Okay, so 2.56 times 10 to the power 6. So let's do this one here. 2.56 times 10 to the power 6. So we're going to move the decimal point 6 places to the right because it's a positive number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we then fill all of these in with zeros. So we've got 2,560,000. Okay, that's for this bit here. Now, let's work with this bit here. We've got 4.12 times 10 to the minus 3. So it's going to get smaller. We're going to move the decimal point 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And put our zeros in. So it's going to be multiplied by 0.00412. And then this bit at the bottom, we've got 1.6 times 10 to the minus 2. So we're going to move it to the left 2 places again. 1, 2. Fill in with zeros. 0.016. Now this I'm going to put in my calculator. As I say, you could have done it like that before, but I like to do it this way, and then I can just sort of see what's going on a little bit more. So 2560000 times 0.00. Have we got that right? Let's just check. Yeah, 0.00412, and then divide all of that by 0.016. And we've got 659,200. But they've said give your answer in standard form. So if I left it like this, I'd only get 1 mark. If I want it in standard form, then I've got to take the first digits and come up with a number that's less than 10, or between 1 and 10. So it's going to be 6.592. So putting the decimal point in here, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places from the end. So 6.592 times 10 to the power 5. Okay, now we're on to the final question. So we've got question 30. We've got some vectors here. We've got A equals 2, 3, B equals minus 1, 2, and C equals 4, 1. Work out as a column vector A plus B. So you literally take, got your vector, the A, so 2, plus B. Well, plus and minus is just going to be a minus. So at the bottom we're going to have 3 plus 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 3 plus 2 is 5. And for part 2 here we've got 2a minus c. So we want 2 times 2, 3, and then we're going to subtract c, which is 4, 1. So let's do this one step at a time. So 2, when you multiply by a vector, you multiply the top. So 2 times 2 is 4. And the bottom, 2 times 3 is 6. And then we're going to be subtracting this vector here. So 4 minus 4 is 0. I'm doing this all without a calculator. You can use it if you want to. 6 minus 1 is 5. There's our vector. And the very, very last part of this question, which is worth 1 mark. The vector D is drawn on the grid. It's here. From the point P, draw the vector 2D. Well, it's going to be twice as long as that. So for D, we're going down 2 and then across 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go down 2, across 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do it again because it's 2 lots of D. So down 2 and across 1, 2, 3. So that is 2D. That's the end of the paper. So I hope you found it helpful. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, ask any questions you got. Make sure you turn on any notifications so you find out when I upload more videos. And good luck if you've got any exams coming up soon. Thanks. See you again soon.